And welcome everyone to another Smart Money Circle episode. I'm Adam Sarhan. With me today is Scott Buchanan, who's the COO of Bitcoin Depot. Ticker symbol is BTM. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time and welcome to the Smart Money Circle.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate being here.
So, Scott, I always like to begin. Can you please tell us your story and how you got to where you are today?
I started out with an accounting background. I got my master's of accounting at Wake Forest, got my CPA license, and started out with KPMG. I was doing the audit track, audited some public companies based in Atlanta. Did that for a year or two. It wasn't my passion. It was a good foundational building block for further finance work. And so from there, I moved on to Acuity Brands in Atlanta, where I was on the FP&A side. So I did typical FP&A type work, managed different P&Ls for various departments within the company, and really enjoyed that work more, being a little more strategic than I was on the audit side. And throughout my time there, I got to work on a few acquisitions, which were really interesting to me. We acquired some small companies out in the Bay Area, and I was involved in that diligence process, the purchase, the integration, and then the ongoing management of those startups that we kind of acquired and merged into the larger business. And that really drove my interest in joining a startup full time outside of Acuity Brands or a bigger company. And so as I started looking for those, I came across Bitcoin Depot. And when I first found Bitcoin Depot and our CEO and founder, Brandon, they had about 5 employees, had been operating about a year at that point, and was a very small company. But it definitely drew my interest, and I built a great connection with the founder, Brandon, and I came on board back in 2019. And since then, I've been here about 6 years now, and it's just been a great experience. We grew from a 5-person company up to 150 now with over 600 million of revenue and 55 million of EBITDA. And we're now a public company as of 2 years ago. So a really amazing experience, and it's been a lot of fun.
Wow, I absolutely love it. Congratulations on the success, all the success. Congratulations on, being able to pivot also from one area to another and then finding this area that you actually, it's more of a fit based on what you're saying. So let's talk about Bitcoin Depot for people that don't know about it, what you do, your competitive advantages, and anywhere you want to go, please.
Yeah, so Bitcoin Depot is the largest operator of Bitcoin ATMs in the world. So we operate about 9,000 Bitcoin ATMs across 3 different countries. And a Bitcoin ATM is a physical kiosk that allows consumers to insert cash, physical kiosk, physical fiat currency, and purchase Bitcoin. So it's not an exchange like Coinbase or other online platforms. Think of it more as like a currency exchange, like you'd see at the airport, like a TravelX, where customers can come up if they live their life more in cash, cash-based consumers, underbanked, or just people that like the physical nature of the kiosk. They can buy Bitcoin from us at these locations. And so we've just been expanding these kiosks around the world. We're adding new countries every year, growing the footprint by hundreds or thousands of kiosks a year, and adding additional services to those kiosks as well. So we're focused on that cash-based economy and converting those people into the digitized world of cryptocurrency.
Wow, that's fantastic. And then it's a physical ATM at the mall or at the airport or somewhere, but they get digital Bitcoin. How does that work? Does it go to a
Yeah.
wallet? Do they get it printed out on a thumb drive, or how does that work, please?
Yeah. So the way it works is customers go to the kiosk, and after they provide their KYC, so we know who they are and do all the compliance stuff, they scan a QR code for whatever wallet they want to use for their digital wallet. So it could be our Bitcoin Depot free wallet, or it can be any other wallet that they want to use. They scan it at the kiosk, and we run analytics to make sure it's not criminally associated. And then afterwards, we'd send the Bitcoin electronically to their wallet, and we'd print out a digital or a physical receipt for them out of the kiosk. But the physical cash goes in, and they get the Bitcoin digitally to their wallet.
Wow, that's fantastic. And then let's talk about risk management. How do you handle risk, and what are some mistakes you see people make with respect to risk management?
Yeah, I think risk management is really important, obviously, and for all businesses, but specifically ours because we're a fintech and we're heavily regulated, right? We're in the crypto space, and we are a money transmitter that's regulated at the state level and federally. And so we take risk management very seriously. We have a department, and our compliance department's our probably biggest department in the company, given what we do. And so we're constantly evaluating our risk management framework, getting third-party audits, all that. But it's a constant balance, obviously, with you could spend your entire profits managing risk, right? But you have to do it efficiently, and make sure that we're doing enough to prevent as much illicit activity as possible or bad actors that are trying to take advantage of the company, while also not going overboard and just hamstringing the whole company from being able to operate efficiently. So it's something we're constantly evaluating, and we've got a great chief legal officer in place that kind of helps manage that program for us.
Wow, that's fantastic. And then let's talk about timeless lessons you've learned along the way that you'd like to share with the audience.
Yeah, I'd say for me, one of the biggest takeaways is trusting yourself. So I joined Bitcoin Depot 6 years ago, right? I'm relatively early in my career. I probably 10 years, 8 years out of school when I joined Bitcoin Depot. So pretty early on. And I think you just have to have the belief in yourself that you can figure it out and you can do it, right? I hadn't taken a company public before, but I figured it out and I did it. I hadn't been the CFO of a public company or the COO, and we just figured it out and did it. We bought a $20 million business, software business out of Canada. So large international acquisition, and we just figured it out and did it. We didn't hire a bank. We just figured it out and used our law firm and closed the deal. And so I think a lot of it is just trusting that you have the ability and you can use the right advisors around you and you can make things happen. You don't have to wait or hire someone that's done it 50 times. You can solve things. And I think that's a good lesson to take away.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it too. It's like, hey, there's a solution here. Let's figure it out instead of all the problems that are also there.
Yeah.
All right. Next question, timeless mistakes. What are some timeless mistakes you've made? You've either learned from them. How do you avoid them? Anywhere you want to go, please.
Yeah. I think um, I think making sure you're fully doing diligence on things is really important. So as we're a rapidly growing company, you get approached by all sorts of partners that want to do deals with you or want to provide some service or do whatever to sell you something or to partner with you. And you get a lot of that inbound interest when you're a rapidly growing company because people see it as a cash cow they can get in on. And so just making sure that you fully are vetting these things and saying no to a lot of opportunities, right? There's so many things that sound great that come in. You just can't do them all. And a lot of them aren't worth your time. And so fully diligencing these things to make sure that you're spending your time wisely and that you really focus on those opportunities that are going to drive the most value and not splitting your time too thin by chasing too many things at once.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then let's talk about leadership. So you started with the company, they had 5 employees, you said. Now
Yeah,
they've got
five people. Yeah.
thereabouts. Okay, let's talk about leadership. What makes a great leader, and what are some lessons you've learned about leadership that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, so there's so many different leadership styles, but the one that I think resonates with me and it has gone well for me as I've built out a team and helped build the company is hiring people that you trust, so you don't micromanage them. I think the hiring process is potentially the most important part of building a good team, more so than how you manage them, even potentially, because if you hire the right people and you trust in those people's abilities that they've shown you after they started that they can do the job, you let them do the job and you just provide guidance as they need it. You don't micromanage them to the point where you're trying to do their jobs for them because then you just can't scale. And so as we scaled from 5 people to 150 or so that we have now, just it's really important that you hire people that you can trust and that you let them do their jobs and you let them make decisions, and you trust in those decisions and go with them. And I think that's worked well for us as we've grown the business and scaled the employee count.
Wow, that's great. So I like what you're saying. It's firing the guy that's competent or the gal that's competent, make sure that he or she can do the job, and then kind of get out of their way, but check in on them to make sure that they're on track,
Yeah,
but
you
really
can't be too
don't
hands off.
micromanage.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I like
Yeah.
that. Let's talk about adversity. I'm sure you've overcome a lot of adversity. Every major successful person that I've ever spoken to has a way of handling adversity. So how do you handle adversity, and what are some mistakes people make with respect to adversity or challenges that come up along the way?
Yeah. So, I mean, adversity is obviously something we're going to go through as a growing business. There's lots of challenges we've been through, and a lot of it is on the regulatory side, right? So, as Bitcoin is a growing, it's a growing space, right? 5 years ago or 6 years ago when I started, it was much less common than it even is now. And the big piece of adversity we had there was when we went public, right? The SEC didn't love crypto. They weren't dying for crypto companies to go public. And so it was an uphill battle. We were a de-SPAC merger, right? So SPACs were already on the no-no list with the SEC and then crypto. And so we saw a lot of adversity getting through that process and we got very heavily scrutinized, but we stuck with it. And we got through the process. It took a lot longer than we expected it to and was more costly than we expected, but we persevered through it and we had the right advisors behind us that kind of helped us navigate that process.
Love that. And then final question for you. What is the best piece of advice you'd like to give the audience or your 20-year-old self?
Yeah, I think follow what you're passionate about. So find something that really excites you and makes you excited to go to work every day and and chase that. Don't wait for your situation to change or get better or become more exciting. Go and find what you want to do and make it happen. I think that's really what kind of drove me to join Bitcoin Depot in the first place was I knew I wanted to be at a startup. And so I just kept looking until I found the right one and it's been a wonderful experience. So I'd encourage people to look for those opportunities and go and find a better situation if they're not happy where they currently are.
Love it. Well, Scott, thank you so much for taking the time. Congrats on the success. Hopefully, we'll have you on again soon.
Thanks, Adam.